Good morning, my amazing friends all over social media. I'm here with my dear friend, one of my top agents, one of our top trainers, Bobby Hobbs. Bobby, how's the weather in New York State today, my friend? How are things going?
Uh, Today, not too bad. It's a little dreary out today, but it's been nice. Can't complain. 80s. I'll deal with that. I actually prefer this to the 100-degree weather we've had for most of the summer, but can't complain at
Exactly.
all.
Yeah, it's 90 and sunny in St. Louis, and it's a beautiful day. I say this every day. It's a beautiful day to help a dealer enhance their F&I operations. So Bobby and I, we've been working on some things in the background, and we want to spend about 10, 12 minutes or so going live so we can help some people. All right. This video is about helping fellow dealers across the nation increase and enhance your lease transactions. All right. For those that know me, I'm a former F&I director, and I'm still in recovery. I'm a recovering F&I manager. All right. I sat the box for 17 years. I personally delivered over 20,000 retail transactions. Let me tell you, Bobby, not a lot of trainers out there can say they did that, right? So I'm not just out
Yep.
here doing this because I
Nope.
did this for a long time. And now as a team collectively, we're helping dealers enhance and grow their F&I operations. And we have to get better at leasing. And I know this, when we started talking about this, Bobby, several months ago, because we're looking at data, we're looking at trends, we're looking at markets, we're looking at margin compression. How do we enhance our lease transactions? And I know I have to be completely transparent and vulnerable about something. I remember 10 years ago when I got handed a lease, I typically didn't jump up for joy a lot of the times.
Mm-hmm.
There are some markets that do nothing but leases and they've got it figured out, right? But I was in a store that was predominantly, 30% cash, 65% finance and 5% lease. And when I got handed that lease deal, I can promise you, Bobby, please don't judge me for this, but I didn't get that excited about it. I knew the opportunities were smaller on lease. I knew there was a lot of subvented rates on lease that didn't allow us to really hold a lot of rate, right? And I know there were, it's difficult sometimes to add $500, $1,500, $3,500 worth of product to a lease because what does that do to that payment? It really makes it expensive.
Absolutely.
But what can we do about that? You want to bury our head in the sand while our competitors are training and growing, or do you want to do something about it? And us as a team at Ascent Dealer Services, one thing I'm proud about, and I'm going to be very bold about this, the team at Ascent Dealer Services, what makes us effective is our coaching roster. Our coaching roster, like Bobby, that consists of experts in retail, NADA graduates, former dealer principals, former high-powered F&I directors. So we get together strategically and we try to come up with solutions to problems. And right now, I think there's a problem with leasing. I want to make this statement real quick. I got a couple questions for you. See,
Sure.
for those that know me and follow me, know I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And my coach, Kyle Watson, used to talk about this all the time. Sharpen your blade in private so your results will shine in public. And that's what we've done as an agency is we've been sharpening our blade in private over the last several months, talking about leasing collectively. A lot of insight, a lot of new ideas. And so today we're just going to talk about leasing. We're going to talk about facts, trends, best practices, and hopefully we can provoke some thoughts somewhere, some way. Maybe we can just help one person. So with that being said, let's get right to it, Bobby. So what are you seeing? So you've really been studying and collecting data. If you would, give a couple of minutes, give your background, because for those that don't know you, who are you? Where'd you come from? What are you doing now? And let's kind of nerd out on leasing for a minute, if you would.
Sure. For those who don't know me, I've been in retail automotive for 20 years. So I just recently came over to this side of the business. So it's been fairly new for me to get on this. So for me, most of my experience has been in the operations side of things, either a general manager or an operations director for a 16 rooftop dealer group. So I don't always come at things from the same way that your average F&I trainer might, right? So for me, when I'm looking at things and what you've always tried to kind of push to us is that you want us to become the best F&I training company in the world. What I'm looking for are where are we not being served by others in the market? That's not to take anything against any of our competition. I've worked with them in the past in my former capacities, but there was always things that I felt kind of lacked. And for me, that was always trying to dig into the data and find areas to compete and be better where other people aren't even trying. So that was kind of what my thought was when we were looking at this stuff. I live in upstate New York, which is a huge lease market anyhow. We're one of the largest lease markets in the country, always have been. So, around here, it was something that's always been something we had to focus on. And so I thought it was a great thing for us to talk about with our different dealers across the country, because they have different needs that they aren't used to dealing with leasing the way that we are, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are you seeing right now? So when it comes to leasing, what are some of the hottest products? Like, what should be kind of the go-to products in your opinion when we're looking at leasing?
Sure. Well, the first thing, let's step back just a little bit. Let's talk about where we are as far as penetration in the market first, and then let's jump into that, because we all got a little lazy. We all know it during the pandemic. Whether it's front end, back end, everything was easy, right? That was the thing, is we got pandemic lazy, where everything was sold at sticker, everything was sold easy, right? And prior to the pandemic, nationally, you were at a 30% lease penetration nationally, right? And we dropped as low as 18%, right? Now, this year, we're all the way up to 25%, and that is continuing to climb. So it is something that you really, really have to focus on when it's making up what's going to be a third of your total sales. And I think it actually could be even more than it was pre-pandemic, just because of the sheer cost of these vehicles. I mean, I think that leasing is going to be something that people are paying more attention to, because we're just providing unpayments that people can't afford, right? It's just something, they're unsustainable, right? So that's the key there, is that. Now, you're asking what type of products, and that's why I wanted to kind of start with that first. It's the unsustainably high payments that we're trying to focus on, right? It's that lower payment. So when you're talking about products to offer when it comes to leasing, the less expensive the products you're offering, the better, right? That is going to be the way that you get more in there and more value. So a lot of times it's just making sure that we are training our staff, our salespeople, our finance managers, our sales managers on what a customer is responsible for in a lease. We've all been in dealerships across the country. We know what salespeople sometimes tell people when they're doing a lease, that they're not responsible for anything. That can be what is told to a general customer. Well, that's not the case. And most customers, when they understand what they're responsible for, they want to mitigate those risks, right? And we have products that are cost effective that will help mitigate them. Those would be your lease protection programs. Those would be your maintenance programs. Those would be your appearance programs. One of the things that was new to me, but it was a great thing, was windshield protection. Me and you have talked about that quite a bit up in upstate New York. That's not something that I had heard prior to getting in this side of the business, but that's something that the manufacturer is going to charge you substantially for. If you need to have a replaced windshield on something that you return to the manufacturer, one of my prior demos right before I left was an Infiniti GV80. The windshield to replace on that car was $3,000 to replace that windshield. Yeah. And so if I'm returning a lease and I get a bill from the manufacturer for something like that, I'm going to be, I'm going to not know what to do. So I think training is number one with people, because if you let the customers know what they are responsible for, the products sell themselves. That's the thing. But I would say the less expensive the product, which is going to have less impact on their payment, the better. Tire and wheel, maintenance, appearance, road hazard, lease wear and tear.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And the one thing too, I want to make a statement for those F&I producers that might see this. When I train young F&I people, when I say young, I'm talking about green P F&I people. When they get into the business, a lot of times we're always looking at what our PVR is. It's like, we have like this PVR fetish. It's all about our PVR. And we get distracted. What we have to do is maximize every single individual transaction. At the end of the month, you're going to have your total gross divided by the total amount of deals you did, and it's going to give you what your raw PVR is. You can only control the controllables. And so if you are committed to training and development and you know your products in and out and you are madly, would you agree with this, Bobby? Do you think we should be psychotic with our product knowledge? right? If you are so infatuated with your product and you're trained appropriately, and you understand that every single transaction is an opportunity to help and serve somebody, and what we really want to do is this in F&I, is we want to happily engage our customer in our service department.
Absolutely.
And when we do that, the customer comes back again. And leasing is a wonderful
That's it. Retention.
So today, my challenge, the reason why we want to do this video is we don't want you to run from leasing. We want you to embrace it. Leasing, right? So our challenge for you is to train, raise your hand, ask your product provider to give you some more product training on your products. Ask your product provider to bring you innovative products that consumers actually want to buy. Here's what I found out, Bobby. Bobby, this is no kidding. Post-pandemic, we found that the retail customer actually wants to purchase our products. Don't want to be sold our products.
Absolutely.
Have a servant-leading heart, use transparency, and the speed of transactions, everything. People don't want to sit around and wait forever. They want to know what's going on, how long is it going to take, what's next, what should I expect. Be very clear and transparent. You're going to sell more, and you're going to make more along the way too, Bobby. So
absolutely.
Any final sound offs or any advice that you would give an F&I professional that maybe gets a lease today? Somebody gets a lease.
Well, you started off with it. So actually that's the way I will end it, is mindset, right? It's how you react to getting that deal. What a lot of people don't realize is how you might negatively affect your whole store by the way that you react when you're given a deal, right? And you're also affecting yourself beyond that, because you're letting your preconceptions about any deal go right out the window the second you get it. If that's the way you react to it, is making that grimace or a snide remark when you get it, it shows that you don't find value in it. And I'm not to tell you it's going to be easy to change your mindset. That's not what I'm here to do. But I can tell you from experience, and the numbers will absolutely speak for themselves. If you go into every single deal with the best possible mindset you can have, you're going to maximize it. There is no question. It's not my opinion. It's a statement of fact.
I agree. And before we sound off on this call, I have to piggyback off of that. Is yes, mindset is the first half of the equation, but then the other half of it is process. I don't know. You ran a huge dealer group. I've been a part of some pretty big operations. And here's what I find. I find that the cash deal given to the F&I manager 10 minutes before close, that deal turns into a clerked deal, and we're not getting out.
Oh yeah. Nobody's doing anything.
Right? Same thing with leasing, right? We get a lease and sometimes we just skip steps.
Goes to the bottom of the pile. Nobody wants to touch it. And it's getting nothing. Yep.
You can't do it. The right mindset with the right process will
equal 100% of the time.
Profitable, happy customer. So Bobby, we've got a lot of work to do. We're grinding out. We got a lot of
that we do
helping for our dealers. So I appreciate you jumping on. For those that follow us at Ascent Dealer Services, thank you for your support. If there's anything we can ever do to lend a hand, reach out to us. We're more urgent to serve than we are to sell. Ron Rehard taught me that one. Props to Ron Rehard, one of the greatest screeners of all time. You guys have a blessed day. Let's go help some people.